I know. But we're going to get into the singles and doubles to watch coming up in Louisiana. So looking forward to all the players that are going to be there. We talked about, this is not as stacked as Florida was, but still some big names on the list. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back to go over that just after this. We are back, and it is time to get into our singles to watch. We're going to start with Bernie. Bernie sent me some.
Before we do that, can we talk about Alan Rawls for a second?
Oh my goodness!
That was a stacked open. Is that kind of one of those career-defining moments for Alan?
I feel like he has some kind of home field advantage thing going on. I don't know what's going on there. Sure. I mean, that's pretty crazy. You wouldn't think cornhole had that, but coincidence?
We've talked about this in the past. You and I, Trey and I have talked about it. Wally and I have talked about it, especially in the open series and the shootout series. The home team kids seem to do very well. Okay. If you're from that region, it seems like you may not win, but you'll see people like the Westwegos last year in the shootout when we were out in Arizona. I mean, you just wherever we were, it seemed like people I get maybe sleeping in your own bed or just being so familiar with the surroundings. I think maybe puts people at ease a little bit. Maybe it's not.
Florida is stacked with talent.
Right.
So it's not like
exactly. So he beats. Let alone it's one thing when you're that good of a player. I mean, Alan's an unbelievable. He's a pro cornhole player. He's one of the best in the world. But you're the second best in your family by a good margin. Right. With Alex being so good and to come away with that win, I don't know, man. I wonder if that's, is it something that, he seems like a pretty laid back guy to me. And I wonder if he's thinking, all right, now's the next step. Here we go. We're moving forward. We're coming up the rankings. Or if it's just like, it's a good weekend. Right on.
What?
I don't know how he is.
We're going to have him on Bagging and Bragging this week. So that is definitely what I'm going to try to feel out because I don't know him very well. So I am kind of curious.
I mean, my conversations with him, all what I can get out of it is, pretty chill dude. It doesn't seem like a lot bothers him, but I don't know. I mean, maybe, but that's a massive win. Like you kind of, pointed to earlier. This open, say this weekend, plenty of good professionals there, plenty of good players there, but it doesn't have the depth of talent that Winter Haven did. So to come away with a win like that, I think could be a career-defining win for Al.
Yeah, and I think that kind of happened with Noah Almanza when he won in Ohio. I remember that really standing out, like, whoa, who is this kid and how did he get through that tough field? So I do think those really stand out in your mind. And definitely.
And he's from Ohio. So once again, another guy kind of protecting.
Look at that. Yeah, see, there's a theme. I think so. Well, now I got to look at my list. Like, who's in Louisiana?
Right. By the way, segue. By the way, that's some foreshadowing to my list as far as home
Okay.
field. But don't you like all the stuff I have behind me here?
Well, it's actually
The starkness of it all.
It allows us to focus on you, Bernie. Mine's busy back here.
I should probably start putting all kinds of stuff back here then.
Where'd Bernie go?
Yeah.
All right, Bernie, let's get into your list. I didn't think about home field advantage, but now I'm kind of curious to look at that from that perspective. But let's see what you got.
All right, starting off, Alec Ryan, it's a name that I think has been climbing the charts, so to speak. People have been talking about Alec Ryan, especially over the last year, had a solid performance in Winter Haven. He's kind of one of those names that's, you start to think about a top 25 player, right? And a legitimate top 25, not a guy that's, is he? Like I'm starting to think Alec Ryan is a legitimate top 25 player, and maybe, just maybe, he can go a little further. And so I'm curious to see solid performance in Winter Haven. Probably would have liked to have done better, but a solid performance nonetheless. I'm curious where his head's at. What does Alec Ryan think of himself? Is Alec Ryan
humble?
I mean? Yes.
He's humble, and I do wonder. He's that kind of guy that's like, I'm not very good, and so
Right.
and you can't be as good as he is and actually believe that at a deep subconscious level.
Sure.
So I don't think that's how he is, but he is very humble. But so he's never going to be the guy that's boasting I'm going to take this one. But I'm hoping that's his dialogue internally.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how you get very far without it.
Yeah, it's kind of like me with my looks, right? I mean, obviously I'm always talking bad about my looks, but you can't look this good and not know it.
That's dead on, Bernie. Nailed it.
Right.
Everybody was thinking that. I guarantee.
I promise you that was going through everyone's mind at home. All right, number two. Speaking of home field advantage, Ian Cripps, Louisiana boy, one of our original, teenagers, preteens that kind of made the pro division a couple years ago, kept his card, and seems to be trending up. And I'm curious, the way that he's trending, he seems to be playing better. I think he's proving someone like me wrong. I think I said something a little critical of Ian last year. I was wondering, what was it? Were you and I on a show together? Was it me and Trey? I can't remember, but I made the comment, did it affect him with Alec Hicks's meteoric rise in the pro division, being roughly the same age, and one player kind of becoming a top 10 in the world player, and Ian was still kind of struggling to hold his position. I think he's kind of proving me wrong. I think Ian
he did something. He kicked it into fifth gear at the end of the season.
Yes, he did. I mean, he earned that card. He didn't back into it. He absolutely earned it. And he's, how old is he now? 14? Seriously, 13, 14?
I think he's 13. I don't know.
Yeah,
I thought he was 13.
Yeah, somewhere. Yeah, right. 13. He's barely a teenager, and you're talking about a grizzled veteran. I think that's.
Oh yeah, I mean, I would imagine it would be difficult. You have Alex Hicks, baby goat, so much attention put on him. You're the same age. You're both pros. And then a lot of questioning of, is Ian not gonna remain a pro? That was the question. Is he gonna lose his pro spot? And it seemed like that lit a fire in him, and he came out at Worlds and shocked everyone, grabbed that spot that we thought was going to someone else in the under 18 category.
Yep.
And he said, no, that's my spot. And then came out this season and said, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. And I'm moving up that list. And I think he's definitely only moving up. And I can't wait to see how that plays out this weekend.
And it's still, this has nothing to do with this weekend, but with the young teens, I'm still curious as to what happens. I mean, I know it's all relative when you go through growth spurts, right? You don't feel it necessarily. You don't realize that you've grown, but I can't remember which one of the Cobb brothers. I believe it was Tice that had the growth spurt kind of a year ago at this time, was kind of going through that a little bit, maybe a year and a half ago. And I think it kind of affected his throw because his release point was different, right? It was inches higher. That's adjusting his throw. And so Ian and Alex and some of the younger teen players that we have, when they hit these growth spurts, and this isn't really about this weekend. Now that we're talking about Ian, I'm curious, is that Do you think that would have any effect, or is it all just so relative because it's not happening all at once, right? That it's just easy to kind of adjust to. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I have to admit, at the beginning of this season, I started to wonder about Alex Hicks because
Yes.
he just wasn't getting to the top of those lists. And this past year, I think he showed it fine. So it's hard to say. I definitely think that those adjustments aren't as minor as one would hope, but maybe when your body is so used to throwing, it just makes the adjustments. I mean, it's going to be interesting
Takes us
to watch.
into number 3, and Ryan Windsor. Look, everyone knows how good Ryan Windsor is. I mean, he's one of the elite players in this game, has been for years, right? Ryan has varied interests. You know, I think he kind of wants to be an aspiring poker player. I think
I saw that, yeah.
His mind is a lot of different places at once, which is impressive, I think, to be as good as he is at cornhole. But I wonder, does that have an effect? I mean, because, you know, obviously he has these other interests. You know, does that affect him as a player? Because I think Ryan Windsor, I mean, we start talking talent, the blind squirrel. Look, I mean, Ryan Windsor on his A game can beat anybody in the world and can be the number 1 ranked player in the world, I think. I mean, obviously that's a lot of competition there, but he's that level of talent. And I just wonder if sometimes his level of focus kind of wanes a little bit. But I mean, he still had another great performance, and you know, he's I don't even know why I'm questioning it, but I just put him in there because I saw the stuff about playing poker, and I'm like, you know, does that take away from what you're trying to do as a cornhole professional? I don't know, but it doesn't seem like it does. But I'm just curious as to, you know, can he stay focused all the time?
I was gonna say I also love poker, and I really do, and I play it, you know, if I get invited to a poker party. But poker does not have the addictive qualities that cornhole has. There is something about cornhole that I feel like you can't get enough of it.
I hear what you're saying, and I agree with you in one sense. But the people that are playing for real money, that's an addiction all its own. You know, when you start really cashing in some checks playing poker, and the gambling aspect that each hand, you know, you're giving away or winning money. You know, that's such a intense rush, I think, for certain people. But I don't know. I mean, the reason I put him on the list, I'm going to say it again. I'm just curious if he has those types of distractions from his cornhole game. Does that take him away from being a player that can compete for top 5 in the world and take him outside the top 10, or does it matter at all? I don't know.
I would say even more than varied interest when it comes to Ryan Windsor is just he's so chill.
Right.
That, like, obviously he's competitive. He wouldn't be here if he wasn't competitive. But because he's so chill, you do wonder, like, is he like as competitive? I don't know. Does that make sense? Just because he's not as fiery?
I think it's inside. I think there's fire inside with Ryan. I think he's just one of those guys. Yeah. I don't think you can get to this level, you know, without having that competitive fire. But I just there's only so much competitive fire in a human. I don't know. The great competitors competed every. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm questioning myself as I talk through it. I don't know. I just it's. I wouldn't say a worry, but it's a thought that I have about Ryan. Does he have too many interests to be at the level that I think he can be? But I'm probably way off. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Eddie Grindersleeve, number 4
God.
for me.
Ernie, you put Eddie on your list?
My
Shocking.
God. Well, I think for the first time, I'm starting to wonder and worry a little bit about Eddie. I don't know why. I don't know why. I think the influx of talent of the last 2 seasons, because at one point in time, if you would have asked me, I would have said maybe a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, Eddie Grindersleeve's a top 10 player for me. Quietly. I don't know if anyone else would have had him in there, but I think I would have. And I'm starting to wonder if he's a top 20 player in the world. You know what I mean? Like, is that a legitimate worry, or am I just overthinking it?
Well, I think when it comes to top 20, you have to look at who the 20 are and who you have to kick out.
That's what I'm saying. And it's getting so much deeper and so much harder. You know, a lot of what I'm going through is just, you know, when I put these lists together, it's funny when I start deciding my list, I have certain thoughts, and then we get to this show at 8:00 at night, and a lot of my thoughts have changed. Right? It's like, well, I've got a whole new list I want to put together, but it's too late. But I mean, I want to see Eddie I like the guy a lot. I think he's one of the nicest guys in our sport. I think he is one of the players that took an entire state on his back to a degree. I think Eddie Grindersleeve is one of the guys that kind of put Texas Cornhole out there, at least in my eyes. And I want to see him be really, truly, elitely successful in our game. And I'm starting to wonder, like, all right, let me ask you a question straight up. Do you think Eddie Grindersleeve will ever win a singles national?
I think he can. Yeah.
I think he can. I'm asking, do you think he will?
That's tough. I mean,
I know. But if you would have asked me this question 2 years ago, I would have said yes. I don't know now.
Okay.
And that's why I'm just thinking
Deborah
about
Odom says she says you're overthinking in Eddie's top 10.
All right. I mean, I hope so. Once again, one of my favorite guys on tour. I mean, he's one of the guys that I kind of search out when I'm walking around and kind of like to talk to and see how he's doing and see what's going on with him. So I hope I'm overthinking it, Deborah. I really do.
Yeah.
And number 5, Daniela Luna. I don't think Daniela gets. I mean, look, she's not Cheyenne Renner, right? There's a few ladies that you're going to put ahead of Daniela as far as the best women in the world, but she is a defending world champion in co-ed doubles. She has a love for the game that I think surpasses a lot of other people. I mean, she's helped our college program out a lot, especially with what she's done with some of the schools in the state of Michigan. I just would like to see her really have one weekend in singles.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden, the last female standing, and we're winning the singles tournament, women's singles tournament, is Daniela Luna. So that's why I've got my eyes on her, because once again, I'm talking about one of the people I search out and talk to, because I'm genuinely interested in who she is as a person, how her life's going, all of those things. So I'm putting her on the list just to, I guess, kind of let her know, hey, we're thinking about you. I'm not always talking about Cheyenne. I'm not always talking about, another female. You're someone I'm genuinely, I care for in this game, and I would love to see her have some success.
She was super impressive in co-ed with Mark last season.
Yeah. Well, it didn't hurt having Mark Richards as a partner.
No, it didn't. But the thing is that she was making incredible shots on her side.
Absolutely.
She was not being carried. Now, I don't know if there's a certain level of confidence that comes with having Mark Richards on the other side of the boards that maybe played into it. I don't know. But She certainly played at a very elite level. He didn't get there on his own. She definitely helped out on her side. So I agree. I would love to see her be one of the females that runs deep in a singles. And be one of the, ones that were like, oh, look, she's hanging on there. The guys, like, that would be really cool to see from her.
I think it would be awesome.
Yeah. All right, Bernie. So we got your singles. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back with mine right after this. Welcome back to ACL Live. We were just going through Bernie's singles to watch for this weekend's Open, and now it's time for mine. Bernie, you haven't even seen these.
I have not seen these. Actually, what happened to the dog? There was a dog going absolutely crazy behind you before we came on air. What happened?
That was Sunshine. Yeah, so she heard Nick and Rom come home, so she had to go visit. I can hear her outside the door, though. She's wondering why it's closed, and she's locked out. It's not normal for her. All right, let's get into it. All right, so my singles to watch. My first one is Fisher Hamilton, and one, because obviously he's very impressive. We see him make deep runs. He's getting impressive wins, but because this last weekend, where was he?
Yeah.
Where was he? Fisher, what happened?
It happens, right?
Now, the only thing I can think of is that Trey mentioned that it was hot and sticky in Florida. He throws a carpet bag, like maybe were the boards too slow? I mean, is that possible for a dirty style player to say that boards are too slow? I don't know. I didn't get to see him play, so I can't see what sort of came up short so that he didn't make as deep of a run, but I want to see him get there this weekend.
Let me ask you, obviously, I think most people in the game kind of like the dirty style. I mean, I think most people that, the insiders, if you will, like an Anthony Ione, hates watching people just go hole for hole. He hates the slide game, right? And you're the same way. I think the better players have to come to a point where you got to play both. I think because when things aren't going well for you and you're a dirty player, you're giving up points. Mm-hmm. Your bags are all over the place. You're missing your rolls. You're leaving laundry all over the board when you play that style. And so not only do you give up points, you give up big numbers a lot.
Right.
Because if your block's not where it needs to be, and then all of a sudden you miss a couple more shots, you're giving up 5s and 7s. You're not giving up 2s. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that's a problem that I think sometimes some players need to, when they play a dirty style, like, you know what? I'm going to throw some 4-baggers for a second just to kind of get in the groove, just to kind of, you know what I mean? Just kind of feel like I've got my distance control back. I've got what I need, and then I'm going to get back to the dirty style. I think you have to divvy it up a little bit.
I think they can. Like, I mean, you even like Eric Davis, he can go.
I know.
Many bags in a row. I think the tricky part, though, is that when you have a slower bag, it's a lot more effort to get those bags all in the hole in a row, right? It's not as effortless as a slinkier bag where you can, it's a kind of almost a break. Like you'll notice that when you watch players, like you'll see them just all of a sudden just sliding them all in the hole. It's almost like they're like, all right, let's just take a second here. Like I need a break.
I think that 100%, that there's times when you're watching, especially a high level match and you've got a dirty style player, and then all of a sudden it's like, you know what? I need to breathe for a second. I'm kind of stressing myself out. I'm just going to throw them all in the hole for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And then they get back to strategy. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I do wonder, if you take a slower bag like a Tony Smith, so sticky carpet bag and the amount of effort that it takes to get that bag in the hole, and it's a little bit different. And I'll also say that as someone that prefers a slower bag myself, I've never thought it'd be possible to have too slow of a board, but I always have, especially living in California when it's dry, so we don't have the humidity issue. But there's actually times at tournaments where I was like, those boards were so sticky that I literally couldn't get it together. Like I could not figure it out. And obviously I'm an intermediate player, but there's got to be some facet of that at the pro level that's nowhere near as bad as it is for me. But, just slightly off gets you much lower in a bracket at this point.
Absolutely.
The next one is Yeti Irwan. She has been really impressive the last times that she's been out at these events. Like she's been going deep in brackets, not just in women's, also on the singles side and the doubles side. So I'm excited to see Yeti continue on. She's really been working on her game. You guys had her on Borderline, and she's talking about how she's feeling a lot more confident on where she's at with her game, and it's showing.
Here's another player that I love. You know what? Is Yeti Irwan one of the more quiet? Like, all right, if we would have gone through the list of female players last season and we would have just blindly asked somebody and they weren't able to look at the standings, give me your top 5 women. Is Yeti on that list? Because she was, but I don't know how many people would have put her on that list. And that's what's so great about Yeti. She's kind of this quiet assassin at times. And she's, like you said, she's kind of conquering her her inner demons on the boards. You know what I mean? Like I think she's kind of starting to get past some of the mistakes that she's made. And it's another person I root hard for.
Yeah, she's looking much more consistent, whereas last season I felt there was a bit more inconsistency, like a lot more bags left or right, or off the back even. So I'm seeing a lot less of that this season, and really, really strong player. I'm excited for what's to come for Yeti. The next one I have is Logan Chamberlain. This is someone that at the beginning of this season, we talked about as a candidate for Rookie of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
He's extremely talented, and it just seems like he kind of lost his groove a little bit. And so I put him on the list to let him know that I'm rooting for you, Logan. I know you can do it. I want to see it happen. I know that you have the potential to do it. And there's a reason why you were a name we were talking about all the time when it came to rookies to watch out for.
Yeah. I mean, coming out of the college program and as well as he was playing there, there just seems to be an adjustment for most people when they come out of that division, and I know they're playing in blind draws at the local, wherever, with some other pros. And, obviously in Texas, Logan's played with, quite a few people there in the pro division, and he's done it for a while. It's an adjustment. It's just an adjustment. There's a grind to the tour. There's, there's just not a break in these tournaments. I mean, some of these brackets there are just brutal, and it's tough. You don't get a chance to take a deep breath and say, all right, I think I can beat this person, and then so I might see in 2 rounds, but I'm fine. You don't get that at this level.
Right.
It doesn't exist. And I think that's a huge adjustment sometimes for these guys.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It can feel a little defeating when you look at your bracket and go, oh my goodness, I have to play that person and then that person and then that person. Definitely different than at the college level currently, which I'm sure that will change in the future as well. And it'll be interesting to see as we grow and the college division gets more competitive, how that changes when they enter into the pro field.
Yeah, 100%.
Continuing on my theme of rookies, which I didn't intend to do, but it turned out that way. Gavin Cano, who had obviously an amazing performance this past weekend, winning in many different divisions, and I thought he was going to get all of them, to be honest. It was like right there. I mean, blind draw, doubles, and Trey really keeps honing in on the fact that he thinks Gavin can be one of the best double players out there. And I put him on singles because I want to see that same level of performance in singles that we're seeing in doubles.
I mean, Gavin's a stud. No other way to put it. I mean, he's someone that's really worked on his game. And you put that kind of work in, I think it's gratifying just from, watching from afar to watch people that are putting in the work and to see it pay off. Because, look, there's lots of people that, quote unquote, put in the work, but they don't see the results back up that work.
Yep.
And it's nice to see someone that you can tell has been working on their game and they're seeing those results.
Yep. So excited to see Gavin. And then my last one is Jimmy Humans. Jimmy, no stranger to the game. We've had him on our list many times. And I feel like, it's his time to really make a deep run in a bracket and see him at the end of this. And I'm curious to see how Jimmy performs. We talked about at the beginning of this season with his partnership, Kyle Malone being almost the B player, right? And now I feel like it's switched and Jimmy Human, Kyle Malone is now the leader of that team and making strong runs and singles. And I want to see Jimmy do the same thing.
Do you think Jimmy's feeling any pressure because of that?
Not from the way that he talks, at least. Unless he's a really good actor.
Right.
But he always talks about how amazing Kyle Malone is. I think Jimmy's Kyle Malone's biggest fan and supporter.
No, 100%. 100%. But I mean, is there pressure?
I don't think so. I don't think it gives him pressure. I think it makes him feel more confident because he knows that the other side of the board is completely taken care of.
Right. I just think sometimes you don't see it all the time, but I'm not going to name names, but there's people that we've watched where their partner is just so good in singles, and everyone knows how good they are in singles, and then that part, they put so much pressure on themselves because they don't want to hold that player back in doubles. I mean, there's one I'm thinking of specifically right now, I'm not going to name names, and you could tell it was weighing on that person. Like, God, I've got to pick my game up. I've got to pick my game up. I'm holding him back. And, I just wonder, I mean, you're probably right. Jimmy's probably not even giving it a second thought. But, I wonder sometimes, especially when someone's like, Kyle Malone's on a hot streak right now. That's his, we'll find out when we get to the Nationals, but it's reminiscent of Mark Richards last year, at least to this point. We haven't gotten to the Nationals yet, but it has that same type of feel in a way. And if he's not feeling any pressure, maybe he should a little bit.
I don't know. I don't think it's Jimmy's personality personally, but who knows?
Yeah.
Either way, Jimmy, I know you can do it. So excited to see your performance this weekend as well. All right, it is time for another break. Then when we come back, we'll get into doubles. We are back with ACL Live, and we are ready to get into doubles to watch. Bernie, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, let's dig into it. Here we go.
Number 1, Andrew Guy, Zach Shibner. The reason I put them on my list is I feel like towards the end of last season, Andrew Guy was kind of finding his footing in the pro division. Mm-hmm. I felt like it was someone that, he was really starting to progress in a very positive position. And sometimes people, when I say that and people are like, well, I didn't win it. It's like, he did have some wins last year, right? In one of the opens. Didn't he beat Matt Guy in one of the opens? Am I crazy?
I don't recall that, but I'm not saying you're wrong.
No, I may have missed them. No, I'm thinking someone else. Never mind. Anyway, but then when we go over into January, and Zach Shibner had such a great run in that first shootout. And because of that run, he got a very high draft status in the team's position. So I'm curious as to where these guys are, right? Like where your head's at right now? Like, are you ready for this season? Are you gearing up to kind of, take advantage of some strides, especially for Andrew as he made towards the end of last season, and for Zach, an unbelievably good cornhole player. Was January, the best we're going to see, or do we get to see that again? And I think we're going to see it again. I'd kind of like to see it happen sooner than later, if that makes any sense.
I do think, this is kind of a defining moment for him, because you have a really strong showing, and people go, okay, this guy's kind of on the radar. But when you repeat it, that's when people start to go, all right, this is not just a fluke, or this is not just he hit a ceiling at the right time. He's legit, he's consistent, and he's someone to really look for at the top of the list.
Yeah, I just, I really want good things for Zach Shibner and Andrew Guy, but Zach put on a show, I thought, in the first shootout, and was just, a bag here, a bag there from maybe seeing him in Arizona, right?
Mhm.
So I'm really looking forward to big things from him, and that's why I have both of them on the list. And number 2, Alex Rawls, Trey Birchfield.
Who are those guys?
Who are they? Yeah, you ever heard of those guys? Are they any good at cornhole, by the way? And the reason I have them on, like, they played awesome last weekend, right? Great showing. I think, and I could be wrong, I think this season is going to play out very well for them in doubles. Like, at least one national win, going to be a danger in the shootouts, going to win one of the shootouts, going to be there in the finals. I think there's a real chance for these two, and that's not me being out on a limb. Obviously, they're one of the 3 or 4 best doubles teams on the planet. But I'm starting to get a real positive vibe from these two as far as doubles go. I mean, am I crazy? I mean, because obviously they are so good. So, like, for them to have better than average would be a couple of nationals, right? A world championship win. They would. The bar is pretty high for these two, but I'm starting to get a feeling, and it's more of a gut feeling, that we're going to see a special season from these two.
Yeah, well, I think there's a couple things to say about it. For one, they obviously are top 3, top 4. So for them to go to 1 is an enormous jump.
Right.
You go from being number 3 to number 1. I mean, that is, like you said, a couple more nationals. The other thing I was going to say, though, about you putting them on your list specifically for this weekend was I thought I saw Trey Birchfield post that he has like a hernia or something, or he has got something
does he?
going on.
Well,
and so he was saying that he was really happy with his performance this past weekend because he was playing through a lot of pain, and I don't know when the surgery is for that to be fixed.
Well, that's a jinx. So I put him on my list. The kid's hurt. He's got hernia surgery. He's never going to be good. This season's over for those guys.
No, but look how he showed this past weekend.
I know. It's for some reason, and maybe I just put the jinx on him, but I just feel there's a big moment coming for these two guys this year. I don't know why, but I feel it coming. Number 3, Alex Hicks, Tony Smith. I have them on this list because I think they win this weekend. No other reason.
Wow.
I think they're the winners. I think they win this weekend. I mean, we normally don't do that, or I normally don't do that. I put people on that I kind of want to pay attention to and watch, not necessarily that I think are going to win. But I actually think Alex Hicks and Tony Smith win this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's
once again, not out on a limb, right? Not out on a limb. I mean, they would be one of the betting favorites either way. But, to call a win is pretty rare. So I'm calling the win for Alex Hicks and Tony Smith. And so you know what that means. They're going 0-2 and they're out. Yeah, they're done.
Yeah, you're jinxing it?
Yeah.
So was that your way of reversing the jinx? Is that how you say it?
I'm trying to reverse my own jinx. But I don't know, man. I feel it. Alex Hicks, Tony Smith are your open number 9 doubles champions.
All right.
You heard it here.
You heard it here.
Number 4, Jackson Gore, Maddie McBride. I love this as a pairing for some reason.
Me too.
Am I crazy? I love it. Would you in any way want to play those two in doubles?
No, God, no.
Right? And I mean, Maddie obviously not an ACL pro, but the talent level certainly is. And if both of these players get hot at the same time, they could do an extreme amount of damage in whatever bracket they're in, if not win it. So I saw them paired together. I was like, wow, that is a dangerous duo to put, to have out there. Like, if I'm playing in a tournament and I look up and then, I see these two teenagers come over and play against me, and they're probably going to beat me 21-0. I mean, if they're on their A game, they're going to destroy some people this weekend.
Yeah, it is an interesting kind of theme, though, that we see here. And I know we kind of talk about this a lot, so not to beat the dead horse, but it is interesting to see all these pro players not play with their dedicated pro partners.
It bothers me. That's why I haven't said anything so far. So I'm glad you brought it up, because it bothers me. I just don't see how that helps you going into with the nationals and shootout.
Unless you're scouting for next season's partner,
right? And then how good can that be? If you're already in that kind of frame of mind with your present partner, that can't speak of good things, right?
No.
I mean, maybe you've got the chat up. I mean, what do you say, chat, What do you say about this? Because I just don't see how it helps. I really don't.
So do you think that's better to play with your dedicated pro partner as much as humanly possible? That's obviously going to be every once in a while they won't be able to make it, and you do have to find
sure.
That totally makes sense. But if they're like, because a lot of these people, their pro partners are there, they're both going, they're not playing together. So what's your opinion on whether or not this is hurtful or harmful or great? I mean, what do we think about this?
I mean, are you with me on this? I just don't see the positive in it at all.
I don't see the positive in it either, other than it kind of becomes, I guess, not like a popularity contest, but like if somebody says like, hey, do you want to play with me? That's always got to feel good. Like, oh, they chose me. That's cool. And like, I don't want to turn them down. I don't know. I don't know why that is so common. I don't think it'll be common in years to come. I think we'll see a lot less of it.
Right. I don't know. I don't see how it helps. I really don't. I mean, I wish someone in the chat could show me the benefit of it. Like in what way?
Jackson said that Jacob Gore said he's too trash to play an open with him, but apparently good enough for a national. So weird line you drew there. I'm not really sure.
And number 5, rounding out my top 5, you already touched on Gavin Cano. The kid's on fire right now, and especially in doubles. And playing with Caleb Batson, this is another team that could just cause real damage in a bracket, if not win it.
I would have chose this team if you didn't, because I'm excited for it.
Yeah, and when I almost chose Gavin for singles, which I'm glad I didn't, because that he's just on a roll right now, and it happens with any other sport too. You get hot. I mean, look at Kyle Malone. He's in the group right now. He's hot, and sometimes when a player gets hot, you got to ride that out. And I think Gavin's in one of those streaks that he's maybe ready to take it to the next level. And with Caleb Batson, that's certainly not going to hurt. So I mean, that is a dangerous squad.
Yeah, I think that's such a great pairing. That's, like I said, had you not put it on your list, it was going to be on mine. I think it's going to be entertaining, and I think they can go really far. Well, that is going to be it for Bernie's doubles. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back and go through mine and wrap it up. Welcome back to ACL.
I have to tell you something. I'm so glad we're doing this because North Carolina is in the process of blowing an 18-point lead in the second half. So I'm so glad that I have to take my glasses off and do this and not pay attention to it.
Well,
So
I'm so
thank you.
glad we could be the distraction you needed. I'm so glad we could be here to adjust your priorities. Yeah, that's what we're here for. And we're going to wrap it up here with my doubles. Let's get into it. All right, my first team to look at are the Ryan Squared. Obviously coming off a huge win from the first shootout, and both players, well, Ryan Smith did really well this past weekend. Ryan Wiedenfield, they weren't playing together. We were just talking about this. So I want to see them come out and be the dominant team that they are.
Yeah, I can't say enough about Ryan Wiedenfield. Not even going to talk about all the stuff he's been through and his family's been through, but the poise that he showed in Arizona was extraordinary.
Correct.
To be your first time on that kind of stage, and look, that wasn't a normal cornhole crowd.
No,
that wasn't the kind of crowd that would make you feel comfortable. You know what I mean? Like you're not looking around at your friends in that crowd, right? So to have the level of composure that he showed, I just think I think he's a special kid. And Ryan Smith, can't say enough nice things about Ryan Smith. So I love this pick from you. I mean, that's a dangerous squad this weekend.
Like, am I wrong? Did you feel out of place in that room? I felt like you could pick out who didn't belong.
I loved it, but yeah, I felt like, hey, who's the short bald guy talking on two microphones over there?
Yeah, the two microphones was so funny. Hey, we didn't even give a shout out to Bernie's debut on Jersey Shore. I mean, all over
it. Let's go. And I've got baby hands, by the way, so I'm trying to hold on to those two microphones. They're like falling out of my hands. It's terrible.
Baby hands. Loved your appearance on Jersey Shore.
Yes. How about those red shorts? Come on.
What the red shorts, and what a great arc to your career. You made it. You made it.
Me and Flavor Flav on Jersey Shore together. Are you kidding me?
Isn't that what you had on your vision board?
I'll be honest with you. All right. If you would have told 17-year-old me that I was going to be holding the mic with Flavor Flav on some MTV show, I would have been okay with it. You know what I mean?
Agreed. All right. The second one is Jacob Gore and Sam Finley. You obviously had Jackson on yours, and we talked about how the brothers split up, but I'm loving the pairings they're picking. Sam Finley went super far this past weekend. She was right there at the end in the bracket. Super proud of her. And having Jacob Gore on the other side, I think that's a dangerous team.
Absolutely. Look, I don't know about you, but I almost feel like I'm waiting for like a breakout weekend for Sam Finley.
Sure.
I think we see it sometimes in the shootouts, but and I'm waiting for a breakout weekend on a non-shootout weekend from Sam Finley, because I think
she almost had it this past weekend.
I know. I think it's coming. So I'm waiting for it, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, I think it was a great start. I think she can continue that momentum, and I was just so excited to keep seeing her name keep going in those brackets. So great job, Sam, and let's see it continue. That third one is a fun one. I want to see the Bubenheims. I mean, I've never seen Cheyenne play with her now hubby, and I talk about it on Around the ACL as well, but like, you never know how couples are going to do together. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
I'm with you on that. I think is it dangerous?
I don't know.
What I mean by dangerous is, and I mean zero offense to Brandon, because he would beat me 21-0 probably. But I don't know how he helps Cheyenne by being his partner. And
I've never seen him play.
I mean, he's a solid player, but he's not her level. And I just don't know how it helps her. It helps him, but I don't know how it helps her. And I don't mean that to be mean, and I don't mean it mean. I just, Cheyenne's an elite talent, and I think if you put her with the right partner, she's a danger to win a tournament, let alone women's singles that she seems to win almost every time out. So but hey, husband and wife got to play together sometimes, right?
This might be a stupid question, but is Brandon Bubenheim playing in all the opens that she's at? Like, is he always there in the field?
I don't know. I think he has been in the field and hasn't played with her, but I don't know if he's in every one of them. I can't answer that question.
the reason why I ask is because I'm just wondering, have we just not seen him play in a while, so we don't know how much better he's gotten, or is he really out there and he just isn't getting very
No, I've
run?
heard, to be honest, I've actually heard he's gotten a lot better. And once again, I don't mean this as a knock on Brandon as a person or as a player, but I mean, if we're all being honest, he's not at her level. And I just don't know how it helps her going forward to play with him. And once again, this is your non-pro part. I don't know. I just, we've already had the discussion on does it help to play with someone that's not your pro part. I just don't think it does. And then, but hey, maybe they're just having fun with it. Maybe they're just taking this weekend, like, shut up, Bernie. We're just having fun for one weekend. Give us a break, right? It could be that kind of situation.
It could be, but there's money on the line, so I don't know how much fun it is to just.
Right.
I would imagine, as competitive as Cheyenne and as good as she is, that she thinks there's a chance. I would have to think. She must think there's a chance that they can go far, or I don't know why she would agree to it. So, unless they have a relationship where Brandon's like, I want to play with you, and she doesn't feel like she can say no. But
right.
I mean, I doubt it's any of that.
Hey, wife, we're playing together this weekend, whether you like it or not.
No, we're not. Denied. So that's going to be interesting to watch for sure. And then Devin Harbaugh, Hunter Thorne. This is a team that I think can win it all.
Yep.
I really feel like, obviously Devin Harbaugh, no surprise there to pick him as someone to win. Hunter Thorne playing really, really well this season. When Noah Wooten chose him, there was a lot of, well, do we think this is going to be good for Noah? And Hunter's really just right there. He's performing. Yeah. And so I think Devin Harbaugh and Hunter Thorne will be a strong team. And once again, an entertaining team to watch. And I think they can easily win this entire thing.
This is going to be an unfair statement considering the stuff that we've said prior to this about not playing with your regular pro partner. But the Brat Pack in general, all those kids, they're so used to playing together.
Yeah.
Because they play together all the time. Even when they're not in tournaments, it seems like they're always together and traveling around. And so it's not as far a break away from your partner. I mean, I'm sure there's been many a night, where they've played together as partners. But
yeah,
I think you could put pretty much anybody with Devin Harbaugh in your threat. And
exactly.
And Hunter Thorne's second half to last season was extraordinary. And then you look, I mean, obviously when we did our power rankings earlier this year, I had Devin number 1. Now I don't know. I still think there's a possibility he could be that. I don't know if we did that same power ranking, I would have him number 1, but he's still in my top 5.
Absolutely.
So it's just an unbelievably talented player. And if you get Hunter Thorne playing as well as Hunter Thorne can play, maybe they beat Alex Hicks and Tony Smith. I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely think they can. I don't, we'll see what happens. My last one is Adam Hisner and Nico Morales. I can't remember which Open it is, but they played against each other. And, Adam Hisner was having a lot of fun. He was kind of joking around, and all of a sudden Nico snuck up on it, and Adam Hisner, I don't think he saw that coming. And so I'm interested now to see them as a pair, how this is going to work. And obviously both elite players, Adam Hisner and Cody Henderson, are a duo that I didn't really think would deviate from one another. They've been a team for so long, but I don't think Cody's on the list.
Yeah, I don't think Cody could come this weekend. Cody, how about Cody's weekend last weekend?
Cody, I mean,
Adam played well too, but Cody lit it up last weekend.
They both played very well, but I feel like I've seen Adam a little bit more than I've seen Cody in the more recent events. And, you really started to question what the heck's up with Cody Henderson. Is he just like over this? But not at all. Obviously did really, really well. And Nico Morales also obviously doing really well. He's got some big wins already.
Yeah. So does Adam continue to needle the opponents with Nico and not Cody? Because, when they play doubles, I think Adam talks more when he's playing doubles with Cody than he does when he plays singles.
Yeah.
And, but I wonder, does Nico become kind of his foil on the other end to kind of talk some smack to their opponents? Because, that's part of his – look, that's almost as much a part of his game as his cut.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but like I said, I think it got him into trouble. You look at that match; it was them. It was Hisner against Morales, and
Yeah.
he was talking and talking and talking, and he wasn't really focused. And Nico snuck up, and I think that will be interesting for sure. I don't know how that's going to play out.
But that's why we put him on the list, right? I mean, that is an
Yeah, that's
interesting
why.
pairing to watch. Yeah.
And that's why I have to say I see Lightskin in the chat, and he said Ricky and Lightskin sleepers. I actually had you guys on my list, but then there were these crazy pairings that I was like, I mean,
exactly.
we got to talk about this. So shout out to Ricky G and Lightskin. You are actually on my list, and if I had a sixth, it would be you.
There you go.
But you had
honorable mention. Honorable mention.
Honorable mention. Absolutely. So that is all we have time for today. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We will see you all for the fun cornhole action in Louisiana. Until next time.